I had a really interesting conversation with a guy yesterday morning on TikTok Live. I think we disagreed on certain things, but he was very respectful and he was very careful to make sure he understood my position, which I very much appreciated. My name is Lisa Reynoso. I'm a student of psychology and a mental health coach. His position, as I understood it, is that God has given us certain boundaries that He doesn't want us to cross. Those could be boundaries around sexual ethics, for example, or other behaviors. And I can't argue that God did not do those things because He obviously did. I mean, look at Exodus and Leviticus and Deuteronomy, right? So here's the real question. Does God still want us to follow the boundary rules that He made? Or does He want us to learn to think for ourselves? Which begs the question, why did He establish them in the first place? We give children rules, clearly defined, because we recognize that children do not have the reasoning powers to make good judgments. I think of a guy who said that he told his 2-year-old niece that she could never ever cross the road without holding his hand because she needed that firm of a boundary. At 2, she was not able to comprehend that someday she will be able to look for cars and make a wise decision about when it's safe to cross. But he knows that someday she will. In the same way, I told my 14-year-old the other morning that if he did not go to work, I would take his cell phone away for the weekend. He needed that boundary to get him out of bed. But God doesn't want us to be children who blindly obey rules. God wants us to think deeply. That's what the book of Proverbs is about. For example, there are 2 contradictory proverbs right next to each other. Proverbs 26:4 says, "Don't answer the foolish arguments of fools, or you will become as foolish as they are." But verse 5 says, "Be sure to answer the foolish arguments of fools, or they will become wise in their own estimation." So which is it? Which one are we supposed to obey? Which boundary are we supposed to set when dealing with a foolish person? The answer is that we need wisdom to discern which one applies to the given situation. God gave us reasoning powers to be used, not just to blindly follow arbitrary rules. After retelling the 10 Commandments in Deuteronomy 5, Moses reminded the people what they had told God, that they would do whatever He said, and God said that was good. He was pleased that they had promised to obey. God had set the boundary, and like good slaves that they had been for not 2 months before, they said they would obey. Nothing wrong with that. But God said, that there was such a heart in them that they would fear me and keep my commandments always. That's Deuteronomy 5:29. God doesn't just want blind obedience to rules, but rather wisdom and discernment and a heart orientation toward Him. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus did something interesting by deepening and broadening several points in the law. But He wasn't creating stricter boundaries. He was showing that heart obedience is deeper than mere rules. A person could refrain from murder or adultery, but Jesus said that just hating someone or lusting after someone in one's heart is sin, which means that we can't do it on our own. He also means that mere boundaries are not enough. We need to have the discernment of the principles behind those rules and boundaries. That's why I support gay marriage, because I see love to God and love to man as the principles by which we determine whether something is right or wrong. Adultery, murder, theft, etc. all hurt other people and often hurt the one committing them. Because they hurt others, they are unloving. Sin is selfishness at its core. But if 2 people fall in love, that's not unloving, that's not selfish. And I don't mean fall in lust. Don't hear what I didn't say. In the love chapter, Paul says that children think and speak and act like children, but when we grow up, we put away those immature ways of thinking and speaking and acting. I think this is true not just in the obvious things, but it is especially true in how we love. A child needs rules and boundaries to protect them and help them learn what is right. An adult who is putting others' interests ahead of their own is not in need of a rule to tell them what to do.